Hello everyone and welcome back to Mars for another nature figure review. Today we're looking at a Revoltech figure. We haven't reviewed one of those on the channel in quite some time. It's been about 2 or 3 years. Today we have Ninja Gaiden 2's Ryu Hayabusa. Now this was my most anticipated Revoltech figure of 2025. So the question is, does it live up to the hype? In many ways, yes, and a few, no. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and get this figure out of the box and see what all it comes with. This Ninja Gaiden 2 Ryu Hayabusa is pretty much the complete set. You are going to be getting, with the general release, you're going to be getting 4 weapons. You're going to be getting the Dragon Sword, your Shurikens. You also have the Falcon Talons here, And then I believe this is pronounced the Kuzurigama is what this is pronounced. So you've got some decent weapons, 4 weapons. You're getting a stand as well, and then an extra peg just in case something happens. But if you were quick enough to get your pre-order in and you went to the Japanese import sites that offer the exclusives, you also would get the Blade of the Archfiend that you can see right here beside the figure. Now, I know this doesn't fall in line with Revoltech's practices, but if this was going to be an exclusive item, I think they should have included the sheath to go with it. The Blade of the Archfiend sheath would have been great to add that. And furthermore, you already know they were planning on adding this because when it comes to the pairs of hands, which by the way, we get a total of 5 pairs of hands and then 2 unique hands. This unique hand right here is specifically for the Blade of the Archfiend sword or katana. So if you got the general release, you're gonna have this extra pair of hand this extra hand that you can't even use for the accessory because the accessory was a exclusive to Japan only. So there you have it with that. Let's go ahead and get this figure out of the box and start off with some size comparisons. For our first size comparison, we have the NECA Toys Ryu Hayabusa that I think is one of the best figures to come out of NECA Toys. This figure is almost 20 years old, by the way, but you can see the scaling and the differences between both companies and figures. I think they look great. Obviously, NECA Toys has the 7-inch versus the 6-inch from Revoltech. We will also be doing a more hands-on direct comparison later on in the review, so make sure you stick around for that. Up next, we have the SH Figuarts Kazuya Mishima. Here we have the Jada Toys M. Bison. We have the Marvel Legends The Hulk and Deadpool. And then lastly, we have Storm Collectibles Evil Ryu to end off the size comparisons. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the pairs of hands accessories as well. Here we have our closed fist. Next, we have the ninjutsu hands. And as you can see, I went ahead and removed those metal bracelets there just because it gets in the way and it just really is that aggravating. Again, you can see how easy like the hand and stuff just go in place just like that. So if it can go in easy, it can fall off pretty easy too. So there's our ninjutsu hands. Up next, we have our open gripping hands. All right, so I was wrong. Of the 5 pairs of hands, 3 hands are going to be pairs, and the other 2 sets are going to be unique hands, making a grand total of 4 pairs of unique hands. Here you can see these are the Nujinsu hands. The other Nujinsu hands I showed you were for the Shurikens. And then we also have, I believe this is the one Yasaki Gama, I believe is what it's called. Hand for this right here. And then lastly, we get these 2 pairs of hands that are open with different expressions. And then that will finish it for the pairs of hands. Now let's move into those badass weapons. Moving into the weapons, first of all, they all look nice and they're very detailed. Here we have the Dragon Sword, the Blade of the Archfiend, our Shurikens, our Falcon's Talons, and then the Kuzurigama right here. And these all look pretty well and nicely detailed. I love how on this one, you can actually see we're getting the Dragon Stone as well. So that one's pretty nice. Again, I just think it would have been great if they would have included a sheath for the Blade of the Archfiend. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a closer look at the aesthetic and articulation for Ryu Hayabusa. All right, so as you can see, we have both figures here side by side. The one thing I will give the NECA toys is, like, I love like how for the net area here, that it's a darker black versus the plastic that's used, if that makes sense. Whereas on the Revoltechs, it's still like the same color all throughout. I think really what they should have done is make this like a darker black, similar to how this NECA Toys is. I think it just makes the figure pop. As you can see with the Dragon Sword for NECA, you do not get the little stone piece add-on, but you do have it for the Revoltech release, which I think is good. And then obviously, like with this figure being almost 20 years old, I think it still like holds up, honestly. Comment below and let me know what you think, but you know, similar design as well with the scarf here. But with the Revoltech figure, you can actually angle it in different directions and things like that and bring it back up because it's on that joint back here on the peg as well. So that's pretty cool. Let's see. I think overall, you know, in comparisons to these two, I think I like more the look of Revoltech, but I enjoy handling more the Ryu Hayabusa because it's just like a fun little figure to play with and things like that, and you don't have to worry about, it's not too complicated, you know. That's the one thing I'll give this Ryu Hayabusa from NECA Toys, is that it's not too complicated and it still looks good. Not a lot going on with this release, but it was still, of its time, a great figure. But as we move over here to the new and improved Ryu Hayabusa, the only great one we have on the market right now, apart from the NECA Toys. And then I know we have Toy Bros coming out sometime. But anyways, yeah, this is a pretty solid release. But it's also a Revoltech figure, and not a lot of people enjoy Revoltech, especially because you have these big-ass joints here at the shoulders. We get the reasoning behind it, but as far as it being as appealing, you know, that's debatable. So, you know, getting to articulation, he can look up this much, which is great. He can look down this much. He can look side to side, lean side to side as well. For the arms, you know, no issues there, right? The articulation is going to be superior with this figure. Now, the one thing I will say is that I do love, like, the torso. It feels nice and thick, and there's a lot of resistance there, so you can get those poses going. So that's very nice. I do enjoy that a lot. I think that's probably like one of the most premium feelings for this figure, is going to be the torso and just, again, the resistance and how you can hit those poses, and it just looks really good. For the arms, you know, there's weird cuts here and there. Again, it's a Revoltech figure, so you kind of know what to expect. Like, you can see how funky that looks and things like that, but again, it serves its purpose. And let me just show you real quick how to swap out when you want the Talons Falcons. So you just swap out the arm here. You can pull this down. And this was great because if you have any blood effects or anything like that, then you can add this to the figure, showing that he's taking damage and what have you. Let me find this other one real quick. Here it is. So we grab the other one and you just slide it in there. And then there you go. So that's how you do that. Easy enough to transition. Let's see, going down to the legs, they have weird thighs. You know, you can hit that split. It looks great. The knees and stuff kind of bend differently at an angle. It's not, as you can see, it's not straight. You can kind of see how it looks there. It's just, these figures are just kind of weird to handle. And even when the figure's standing on its own, the knees aren't squared off, and it comes like down off to the left and down off to the right. So definitely, I would say there's a lot of posability for this figure. The articulation is there, but you just have to sit there and play with it. And that's what makes it kind of fun also, is because you're getting that experience to deal with a Revoltech figure. And you're kind of seeing, oh, I see why they did this and I see why they did that. That makes sense. Like, oh yeah, look at this pose I just made. So that's what's important with Revoltech figures to keep in mind. Overall, aesthetically, I think they nailed it out of the park. Not too crazy about the shoulders or how the legs are, but that's just how they do their figures so that they can get those poses. Let's go ahead and get into the conclusion for the review with my final thoughts. This is a great Ryu Hayabusa. Does it live up to the expectation? I would say in many ways yes, but in a few ways no. My most annoyance with this figure is going to be the hands. I like the fact that the hands are included here on this little peg stand here, but I think it does mess up the hands when it goes into the pegs. When you have the closed default fist for this figure and you slide it into the peg, there's resistance. You feel the resistance and it like stays in place. With this system here, I feel like when you go and put your hands on, the hole for the peg is just so much bigger now. It just slips in and then slides out, and then, you know, it's just a mess. So like for me, my biggest letdown with this figure is going to be the pairs of hands. The articulation for this figure and the presentation for this figure is on par with Revoltech. It looks great. It looks accurate. I am excited for Ninja Gaiden 3's Ryu Hayabusa. I will be picking it up and reviewing it here on the channel, but it's just the hands for me. The hands for me just kind of kills the overall experience for this. And to go out and say it's kind of a letdown is almost true. But at the end of the day, I'm glad we got this figure. I'm glad Ryu got the treatment he deserves, the figure deserves, the character deserves, and we finally have a badass figure. And there's plenty more to come for Ninja Gaiden from Revoltech, so I'm looking forward to that. We got the plan going over. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review, and we will see you all next time. Until then, peace.